He was the man behind the camera. Cold, distant, rich in fame, but empty inside. She was the homeless girl no one ever looked at twice. Until one day, she asked to take his picture. One click, and then she vanished. But that photo, it saw something in him that he didn't even know was missing. And when he finally found her again, his whole world changed. Want to know what she wrote in the note? Watch till the end. The last 10 seconds will break your heart. Welcome back to the channel, where the rich meet the broken. And one moment changes everything. Love, loss, redemption, all in one story. If this story already has you leaning in, hit that subscribe button. Here we tell stories that don't just pass time. They reach your heart. Stay with us because this one, it's going to stay with you. Please kindly take me to 1,000 subscribers. Every morning, like clockwork, Noah Reed walked the same 4 blocks from his Manhattan loft to his favorite coffee shop. He liked routine. He liked silence. And above all, he liked looking at life from behind a lens. Noah wasn't just a photographer. He was famous. New York Times features, gallery openings in Soho, billboards with his signature black and white portraits. People admired him, but no one really knew him. And that was exactly how he liked it. He wore noise-canceling headphones even when they were off. He didn't make eye contact. And when he clicked his camera on the street, it was never to connect, just to capture and move on. But one part of his walk always made him slow down, just a little. A girl. She sat by the corner of 8th and Bleecker, wrapped in a hoodie 3 sizes too big. Maybe 10 or 11, always alone. Always sketching in a worn-out notebook or staring into traffic with those wide, quiet eyes. She didn't beg. She didn't speak. She just existed, like she was part of the sidewalk. And every day, Noah walked past her like everyone else did. Maybe his lens tilted an inch her way now and then, but he never took a photo. He told himself it was because it would feel exploitative. But really, he just didn't want to look too long. Because there was something in her stillness that felt familiar. He'd spent years hiding his own pain behind art, behind fame, behind silence. And somehow, in that little girl's tired posture and quiet face, he saw a version of himself he didn't want to remember. So he passed her, day after day, without a word. Until one cold morning, she spoke first. It was colder than usual. The kind of morning that made New Yorkers walk faster, shoulders hunched, hands buried in pockets. Noah Reed was no different, gloved hands gripping his coffee, scarf pulled up, camera bag bouncing against his hip. His mind was already on an upcoming gallery deadline, until he turned the corner onto Bleecker Street. She was there, as always. Same hoodie, same worn-out shoes. But this time, she stood up. She stepped forward nervously and blocked his path. Noah blinked, surprised. No one ever approached him on his walk, especially not her. Then she asked, soft but clear, "Can I take your picture?" He froze. At first he thought he'd misheard. She looked up at him, her small hands gripping something, a disposable camera, cheap and scratched. He looked around. Was this some kind of trick? "You want to take my picture?" he asked. She nodded. "You always take pictures. I just wondered what it would be like if someone took yours." He didn't know what to say. Nobody ever pointed a lens at him. He was the one who hid behind it, controlled the angle, controlled the story. "Why?" he muttered, caught somewhere between amusement and confusion. The girl shrugged, hugging the camera to her chest. "You look lonely today." That stopped him cold. Not angry, not pitying, just observant. And for some reason, he didn't understand. He handed her the camera around his neck. She adjusted it with the kind of care you'd expect from someone handling something precious for the first time. 1 shot, 1 second. She handed it back with a small smile. Not pity, not pride, just kindness. Then she sat back down, like nothing had happened. Noah walked away, dazed. He didn't even remember the rest of the block. Just the weight of the camera in his hands, and the strange, quiet feeling in his chest. A girl with nothing had just made him feel seen. Noah didn't look at the photo right away. He got through the rest of the day in autopilot. Client edits, gallery prep, inbox replies. On the outside, it was business as usual. But that girl's voice, it stayed with him. "You looked lonely today." It wasn't the kind of thing people said out loud. Not in New York, not to someone like him. Later that night, he finally sat at his desk, the city lights bleeding in through the windows, and powered up his camera. Hundreds of photos scrolled past, crisp, perfect, commercial. And then hers, the one she took. It was crooked. The focus was soft. The light from the street behind him flared slightly across the lens. But his face looked tired, vulnerable, real. He wasn't posing. He wasn't performing. He just was. There was a flicker in his eyes, something between pain and distance, a truth he didn't even know was visible. She had captured it in a second. Noah stared at it for a long time. That little girl, who had nothing, had seen something in him that the world, his followers, his galleries, had missed. He didn't know whether to delete it or frame it. Instead, he downloaded the file and set it as his desktop wallpaper. Not because it was beautiful, but because it was honest. And for the first time in years, Noah felt something stir in him. Not pride, not regret. Something harder to define. Something like being human again. The next morning, Noah left his apartment 10 minutes earlier than usual. He didn't plan to. He just did. He turned the corner onto Bleecker Street, camera slung across his shoulder, scarf tucked, neatly hoping, without admitting it, that he'd see her again. But the spot by the bakery wall was empty. No hoodie, no sketchbook. "No girl!" He glanced around, up the block, down the subway stairs. Nothing. It was New York. People came and went all the time. Maybe she moved corners. Maybe she got picked up by someone. Maybe she found shelter. But deep down, he felt something else. Something colder. She was gone. The next day, still gone. The day after that, same thing. Noah found himself slowing down every time he neared that block, looking twice, sometimes stopping entirely. A few people gave him strange looks. He didn't care. She had become part of his routine, even if he never said a word. And now he missed her. He tried to shrug it off. He told himself she was just a kid with a camera for a second. But every time he saw that photo she took, every time he opened his laptop, it reminded him that someone had looked at him, really looked and saw through the armor. And now she had disappeared. He printed out the photo, taped it to the inside of his wallet, folded like a quiet secret. Not because it was art, but because it was a moment of truth. And the person who gave it to him was now a mystery. For the first time in a long while, Noah Reed felt like the one who had been left behind. It had been nearly 2 weeks. 2 weeks without the girl on Bleecker. 2 weeks of passing that same bakery wall and walking away empty every time. Noah tried to bury the feeling, busied himself with work, answered gallery emails, scheduled client shoots, but something always pulled his mind back to her. To that one photo, that one line. "You looked lonely." He didn't know her name. He didn't know where she went. But the silence she left behind, it echoed in him. One rainy night, after a long shoot in Midtown, Noah walked back to his car. The streets shimmered with reflections. The city buzzed but felt oddly distant. That's when he saw it, tucked under the windshield wiper of his car. A soggy, beat-up manila envelope. No return address, just his name scribbled in shaky pencil. To Noah. His hands trembled slightly as he opened it. Inside were 3 things. A crayon drawing of him, standing on a street corner, holding a camera, with a little yellow sun above his head. A Polaroid photo, the same one she took. But this time, it was printed and laminated in plastic like it mattered. And finally, a torn sheet of notebook paper, folded once. Words written in that same childlike hand. "Don't stop seeing people." "I didn't stop seeing you." Noah sat in the driver's seat, wet from the rain, just holding that note in his lap. It was like time stopped. She was out there, somewhere, still watching, still hoping. He looked again at the drawing, the smiling sun, the tiny version of himself, the joy sketched with crayons on cheap paper. It wasn't just a goodbye. It was a gift, and in that moment Noah knew. This wasn't just random encounter. It was a wake-up call, and he wasn't going to ignore it. The rain had stopped, but Noah didn't drive home that night. He just sat there. The envelope, the note, rested in the passenger seat like it weighed more than it should. The crayon drawing curled at the edges. And that name? Emmem. He didn't even know her full name. But in that moment, he felt like she knew all of him. And that scared him more than anything. The next day, Noah did something he hadn't done in years. He canceled a shoot, then another, then all of them. He went to Bleecker Street, not to take pictures, just to look. He asked the bakery owner, the guy who ran the newsstand, a security guard nearby, "Have you seen the girl who used to sit on this corner?" Most shook their heads. One remembered her, said she used to sketch a lot. But no one knew her name. No one had helped her. No one thought to ask. And that broke something open inside him. Noah, the man who made a living capturing strangers, had never actually seen them. That weekend, he walked through neighborhoods he never photographed. He visited shelters. He brought food. Sat in art classes for at-risk kids. He didn't carry his camera. He didn't go to shoot. He went to see. One Saturday afternoon, while volunteering at a youth arts program in Brooklyn, he passed a bulletin board and stopped. There, pinned with a safety pin and a strip of tape, was a drawing in familiar colors. A camera, a man with messy hair, a sun in the corner. It was hers. He turned, heart-pounding, and there she was, sitting on a bench, sketching, hoodie still too big. But her cheeks fuller, her eyes brighter. He froze. She looked up, met his eyes, and just smiled. "Hey, took you long enough?" Noah sat beside her without a word. She handed him another drawing, a new one. It showed two people sitting on a bench, one small, one tall, both smiling. "No camera this time." "I don't draw people unless I trust them," she said softly. "And I only take pictures of people I hope don't disappear." Noah swallowed the lump in his throat. "I didn't know you were saving me," he whispered. She tilted her head. "I didn't either. You just looked like someone who needed a second chance." That was the beginning of something new. Weeks later, Noah opened a new gallery. But this time, it wasn't about commercial portraits or models in motion. It was titled, "What We Miss When We Don't Look." And in the center, under a spotlight on a clean white wall, was the photo she took of him. Crooked, human, honest. Beside it, her note, and underneath it all, a placard that read, "Photographed by M. Age, 11. Street artist, storyteller, the one who saw me before." I saw myself. The gallery was full, not with celebrities, not with critics, but with people who came to feel something. Mothers, teachers, nurses, young artists. A man who said he hadn't been to a gallery since his wife passed. A teenage boy who admitted this was the first photo that ever made him cry. They all came to see a picture of a man, not posing, not edited, not perfect. Just seen. Noah stood in the back, hands in his pockets, wearing a simple hoodie instead of his usual blazer. Next to him, barely up to his shoulder, stood Em. She didn't say much, but her eyes were bright, proud. She looked around at the people quietly staring at her photo. "You think they see it?" she asked. Noah nodded. "I think they feel it." And that's what mattered. He didn't care about fame anymore, or angles, or exposure. Because one photo, taken by a child who had been ignored, dismissed, left behind, had taught him everything his fancy camera never could. That truth is more powerful than perfection. That seeing someone is sometimes the greatest gift you can give. And that redemption doesn't always look like a second chance. Sometimes it looks like a little girl handing you back your heart. As people began to leave, several paused to read the small note next to the photo. Photographed by M. She didn't want money. She just wanted him to remember how to feel. That one image, out of thousands he'd taken in his life, was the only one that ever truly saved him. Noah never went back to taking pictures the same way again. He still carried his camera, but now he asked first. He listened longer. He saw more. And every time someone asked him about the little girl who changed his life, he would smile and say, "She didn't give me a photo. She gave me myself back." Because sometimes the people we overlook are the ones who see us the most clearly. This story made you pause. If it reminded you that sometimes the smallest voices see the biggest truths, then don't just scroll. Subscribe. Because here, we don't just tell stories. We feel them. And the next one might change you too.